Hello, everyone. It's Kristina, and I'm here for another night of the Authentic You Power Talks. And tonight, we are going to be talking about managing your inner thoughts. Boy, this is ever a big one. And the more we can learn how to master this, the better it will be for you in the long run. So, we're going to talk about that today and what that potentially looks like. I normally run my show 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday, and Monday to Thursday there's a topic. Friday is open mic. But sometimes life happens and sometimes there might be a bit of a switcheroo at a later time, or I might pick up on a weekend. It's not the norm, but just so if you're interested in staying connected, then you probably want to hit a follow, because then at least that'll let you know when I'm on a regular basis. Tonight, we are going to talk about our inner thoughts. We're going to dissect them a little bit more. Rather than just saying self-limiting beliefs, we're going to talk about how we can work through them a little bit. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it'll be a powerful one, and I think it's very needed. So this is just so we can do high-level logistics here. This is a little bit different than a typical podcast where you have two subject matter experts speaking back and forth. This is much more like talk radio, and which is really great because when you're on, sorry, I'm just seeing here. It's really great because when you are on, it's not scripted. We talk about real life things right here, right now, in the moment, and usually we'll lean towards a topic. And tonight we're going to talk about our inner thoughts. The part that I love about it is that we have so many scripted things out there in this world. It's really nice to create space where people can come in and we can have a conversation. So that could look like maybe you'll have a question, maybe you will have a story, or you'll feel inspired and you want to share with the group. You are definitely welcome to do that. And you might be asking, well, how do I do that? For those that are new to the space, there's a plus sign located beside my face. And then you hit that plus sign and it puts you in queue for the conversation. There'll be usually a little bit of a pause somewhere, or if you're feeling really inspired, you would hit that plus sign and it would put you in queue, and then I'll let you up and we will have an amazing conversation. And one thing I will say to all of you, sometimes you feel as though your question is just for you. It never works that way. I know this from behind the scenes. People tell me all the time how they've been inspired, and it could be your question that you're helping others understand themselves more. So always know, don't stop because you might think that it might not make sense. There's lots of other people that benefit when we have these powerful conversations. A typical night, we have hundreds of people in this room from different locations all over the globe. And one thing you will come to realize is that many of our wisdom or places of wisdom, they're universal. It doesn't matter where you sit in the globe. We're all learning and we're human and we're going through this personal growth journey together. And that's what makes it super awesome. That's one way that you can participate, but there is another way you can participate. There is a button at the bottom of the iPhone. I call it the show me some love button. So it's not about me, it's about the we. So when you hit that button, so hit it right now, it lets everyone know that you're here, and it actually increases the vibration in the space. That's how energy works. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. We're increasing the vibration. And the reason why we want to do that is it creates a safe container. So we can have meaningful conversation. We can have conversation that is non-judgmental, very inclusive, and very belonging. And believe it or not, it rejects some of the other energy that doesn't align with that. So that's why it's really important to make sure that we set the space. I do it all the time. And thank you for those that participated. We have set it. So we are going to get into tonight's conversation. But before we do that, I would never have you come into my space without saying hello. Let's see who we have here today. We have Jennifer and Shirley and Julie's here. That's great. And Laura's here and Valerie and Tiffany and Kathleen. And we've got Stella and Jamie and Heather and Chrissy's here and Lisa B and Yvonne, Lauren, Sarah's here. Hey, Sarah. We've got Yolanda. I don't know. I like saying that name, Yolanda, David, and Lee. So if I didn't get you this time, don't worry. I'll get you on the flip side. And we are going to get into the conversation. Hi, Alessia. How are you? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And we've got Rebecca here, even showing love from an Android. So I love that. So regardless of where you sit, with whatever phone, we're not here to judge it. It just happens to be the actual icon is on the iPhone. But if you're feeling love from the Androids, then definitely send me the chat. And I absolutely love it, right? We are together in this space. It's quite a special space. The other thing I want to say, I always like to tee this up. You have me for the next hour. So if you have me for the next hour, you want to maximize. If you have some energy left in you today, I would get up and maybe clear the dishes, load the dishwasher, whatever it is that's around. And maybe it's going for that walk. The reason why I say this, and it's so in line with tonight's conversation, is that it adds, well, it removes the clutter, right? Not literal, yes, physical clutter, but I'm talking mental clutter. And when we have mental clutter, it impacts our inner thoughts, right? We can be on this overpilot. Oh my gosh, I got to do this. Every time you're walking by the mail, I got to do that. Well, at least this is what I do. So it's better just do it. Take advantage for the next hour. You have me in your ear. You can tackle those things without even noticing you're doing it. So yes, take advantage of that. I do have Julie and Q. I'm going to bring Julie up before I fully get into tonight's conversation. And let's see what Julie has to say. And then I can have a drink of water. Hi, Julie. How are you?
All right. I was glad that you brought me up because I am going to fly in a little while, but I'll probably be listening to you as I close my eyes.
Oh, I figured it's late.
If I just want to catch you to say hello. It's been a long time since
It has. How have you been?
I've been all right. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's one of those things where I don't really think about all of the experiences I've had since I've spoken to you, but they're there.
Oh, it's tons. Yeah. Your misadventure.
All sorts of stuff going on, from high living to cooping up in a van in the middle of the night and staying in a van with no windows in 5 degrees.
That would have been a lot of snuggling time.
It was good snuggle with Brad. Great hat to wear as well. I had to wear a hat to go to bed. I've had such a kind of variety of experiences. It's been really good. And do you know what's happened with that? It stopped those inner thoughts. It's just not had time to, if you like, create these thoughts anyway. And I wanted to talk to you very quickly before I go about thoughts. And I'm going to read you a little extract that Brad wrote.
Sure.
Brad wrote about thoughts because he has something called pure OCD. I want to read to you what he wrote. So he wrote this. Let me see where it starts. So he's put another facet of a pilgrimage, which is what we did, is a state of mind. Brad says, I've suffered from pure OCD, which is something he's had since his early 20s. OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. In short, it means obsessive thoughts and compulsive behavior OCD, and it comes in many forms, and all are equally debilitating. And what he's saying is some of the thoughts we have, they just come from nowhere. The point is we have the thought. It's whether we attach to that thought any importance. So it could be a thought about anything that'll pop in your head, and most of the time they go flying through. But when it becomes a problem with these thoughts is when we attach to them. We catch the bus, so to speak. You get on the bus ride and then we're off with our inner thoughts on a journey. So,
Well, then they really do take a
they
life,
do.
and it can be.
This is the next bit. So you have the thought, then you attach to it, and then you start to behave according. So for Brad, he would have compulsive disorder. In short, it means obsessive thoughts and compulsive disorder behavior starts to rule the day, if you like. So for him, he had obsessive thoughts about sunlight, right? I'm going to read this bit to you. He had this health fear, and it was the damage the sun could do to his skin. His compulsion was to avoid ultraviolet, or as he puts in brackets, death rays altogether. A complex strategy of behavior came about. So to venture out in the sun, he would either have to apply an excessively high factor sun cream, 99%, which was like custard and tinged with green, or he would have to shadow dance down the road, which meant he had to jump from one shady part of the road to another. You can see how these thoughts start to make it and have an influence on how we behave. This is why it's quite interesting to look at these inner thoughts and to start to take control. What am I attaching to? What thoughts am I making important, underlining, hooking myself into? That's the key. So that was it. That's what I wanted to bring up because
Well,
that's
super.
what came to mind.
Yeah, I love it. It's so great to hear from you, Julie. And I love the share because it's lived experience, right? It's one thing to talk about these things and be like, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that. When we have lived experience and we have examples, and the fact that you shared what Brad wrote, I'm like, wow, that's on point, right? When we really figure out what we choose to attach to it, that thought, some will flitter through, and then why is it that there's certain ones that we just lock into? That's a bigger question. And Julie was talking, I'm like, oh, I gotta get my book because I wrote about in my original book that thoughts, they're triggered, right? We trigger a thought, something pops into our head. Then this is to lean into what Julie was saying. Then some will flitter, but some we will add a feeling attached to whatever that thought. Could be good, could be bad, but then it equals the behavior. It leads us to the behavior that we will do. If we are thinking, let's use the sun example, that the sun getting burnt, it's scary, it's not great, then that doesn't feel good. So then the action is, it could be jumping from shadow to shadow behind every tree in order to enjoy a summer day. But that is one of a million examples of the thoughts that you can go through. Oh gosh, I wish I had the stat with me offhand, but I think we have millions of thoughts. I wrote the stat down somewhere else and I don't have it offhand. I didn't expect this to pop up, but millions of thoughts throughout the day. And what happens is that in the morning, your thoughts are much more crisp and clear. And then by the end of the day, you have thought fatigue. You got so much going on. That's why sometimes we don't make the best choices. Let's say our food choices, if we're near the end of the night, because we're tired. We've made tons of decisions and thoughts, and they've led our behavior throughout the day. So that's something to think about there. All right. But remember, we are not our thoughts. So I just want us to lean into that before I get into tonight's conversation a little bit deeper. And the key of this conversation tonight is for us to be aware of them. And we don't always have to respond to them. Sometimes, as we were saying, you can let them flitter by. You don't have to engage with every single thought. And when you feel empowered that you don't have to lean in, you can avoid thought distortions. Maybe it could be something like you are looking at yourself and you're like, oh God, I look so fat today. That could be a thought distortion. That could be something in your head that you've been carrying from chapter to chapter, right? Where you're just not feeling good about yourself. So think about this. I make the comment, oh, I feel so fat today. I'm using that because I think every single human being has had this comment in their head. And that doesn't make me feel good. So the feeling is going to drive the behavior. I'm either going to do something about it or I'm going to be depressed about it. But those are reactions to the thoughts, our inner thoughts. But we want to work on it today so we can be empowered and understand how we can monitor them a little bit differently so they're not on autopilot. Because your inner thoughts are actually the way you experience your life. They're not facts, and they aren't actually in charge unless you give them the role to be in charge. So, how many people have been in situations where they're suffering from anxiety or really negative thoughts? They're kind of overdrive. That's because you've allowed that to happen. And I know some people are not going to allow that I said that, but when we start to understand this is not about shaming or blaming or judging. This is not the intention here. This is about really bringing it to our awareness about I've been giving these thoughts roles in my life where they're running the show. They will make me feel as though I am good or I am bad. That's how simple, whatever the equation is. But when we do that, many times we are operating from a part of us that is unexamined. It's just a thought pattern. It could be a negative thought pattern. It could be a positive. Hopefully, we're leaning into positive thought patterns. But these patterns, I see with my clients all the time. That is my role. I help them identify the pattern so we can break the pattern, and we're not going to feed into the old thoughts around the old pattern because the old pattern isn't serving us. We want to change things in our life because we have this weird, and this is honestly, I was just writing about this today. The mind we have given so much credit to the mind and that the mind speaks and we assume that it's the truth, but it's not. The mind is usually some sort of protector. So it's trying to create narratives in order for you to believe these stories that you might have told yourself. We need to go to the inner thought and be like, what's going on here? At least question it instead of assuming that it's real. So if it's you looking in the mirror, not feeling good about yourself, if it's you feeling as though you can't do something or you can, right? If the saying, if you say you can, if you say you can't, that's a thought, right? It's where you're applying the attention or the energy that's going to make a big difference. But the key is awareness. So we're going to get into that a little bit today. Let's talk about, I have 5 of them that I want us to talk about tonight. Awareness. So when a thought will come through, it's not just simply noticing, but it's being in a position where you're not trying to fix it and you're not trying to judge it. No judging. It's leaning into this place, being curious and learning how to ask. These are some of the questions I would love for you to ask. If there's a thought that has come through and it's not sitting well. The first one I would be like, what kind of tone is your inner voice talking to you in? Is it being kind, nurturing, loving, or is it being really critical, fear-based, and rushed? Because if you are feeling that it's more fear-based or critical, that's usually, remember, that's the attention that we're giving, and that could be running the show. And it may not be true. It's at that point where we can start being curious and questioning a little bit more. Even to go further, is like, is this thought about the present or is it about the past? Because remember, what we can't see, we can't change. We want to be aware of what's happening and how we're thinking about whatever it is. I like to do it more simply. Is this true or is this not? Do I have facts to prove what this thought is? And when we challenge it a little bit differently, instead of just taking it as truth, we will be surprised. You'll be like, oh no. And then some unknown reason, we can let it go because we broke the pattern. That's the way I would see it. Number 2 is really learning that you're not your thoughts. So separating the space from the actual thought. You're not your thoughts. You're just observing and you're listening to them. So instead of saying things like, I am failing, I'm not right, I can't do this, you maybe try things like, I am having a thought about failing or that I can't do this. I wonder why. That question alone creates a small little pause, which allows you space to go in a little bit deeper and see whether or not it's real or not. Number 3, regulation. I talk about this all the time. Is that grounding your body first, because your thoughts will follow your body. And if your body is activated, your mind gets louder and even more extreme. Think about that. It almost is like trying to protect you even more. So it will start telling you more stories about the way things can't work, how there's fear. And if you haven't learned how to speak to yourself kindly, it can really start having a negative turn if you're not really grounded. So how do we do this? We actually breathe deeply. We take time to see how we're really feeling. So if you're escalated in a situation, I've had many people who've had panic attacks, or they get really worked up, or maybe they're super hard on themselves. I would suggest try to ground yourself again, try to regulate yourself. So you are taking yourself from high alert down to a more calming place so you can actually make sure that you're having clear thought process there. I just want you to think about that. And then also, number 4, always question the thought. Not every thought deserves belief. And you'd be very surprised. I'll speak from personal experience. It's really interesting to me because I challenge everything now. I always drop into neutral and I never go, this is good or this is bad. I'm just like, as I said before, does this seem true? Do I have facts? Is this current, or is this something, this is the same narrative I've been carrying for the last 20 years? And am I being kind when I'm going on this explore? Because some of these old patterns are protection patterns, usually through survival, through stories that you've been told, and then you start believing them as though they're truth. And that is not the case. They may not be truthful in this moment. And some reason we don't learn to question it. And trust me, this is 99% of the population. We're in the process of having this deeper level of awareness. You just assume that every thought you have is the real thought. But what if you're thinking, you're giving attention to thoughts like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, that's not for me. Oh, I'm X, Y, and Z. I don't want to go into negative spin. What do you think you're telling yourself? And what do you think your behaviors are going to follow that lead, thinking it's almost like self-sabotage, unless you can identify that you're giving that kind of attention to those thoughts that really aren't deserving of any sort of attention. What's number 5 here? Number 5 is choice. So always think you have a choice, and you don't have to have all the answers now. This is really about you being able to choose. You can say things like, I don't have all the answers now. I don't know. Am I big? Am I not? Am I bright enough? Am I not? You don't have to have the answers right now. You can use language like, I can handle it in the moment. I can move along towards my path in the moment, or I'm allowed to pause before responding. When you are doing this and you're allowing yourself the space to have a choice in the matter, you start leading yourself through whatever path you want, leading yourself through your thoughts. It's almost like, when I say this, it's like having spiritual hygiene or emotional hygiene. It's like how you are taking care of yourself. These are practices and tools that you'll learn on a regular basis that you should always be checking in with yourself to make sure that an old pattern hasn't surfaced or something has come into play to put you in a position where you start self-sabotaging. And as I said, number 6 is integration. This is a big part of the work I do. It's about integration, practice, having deeper understanding. It's not about perfection. But when we manage our inner thoughts, it isn't about control. It's about the relationship that you have with yourself. So think about how many times, I know for myself, my nickname used to be the General. I used to be pretty tough on myself. It was very black and white in my head. And that was all about control. And when we lean into control, that links to fear, right? If we don't have it all controlled because we're fearful of what might happen if we don't do that. I want you to reframe it and think of it. It's about a new positive relationship with yourself. You're getting to know yourself and you're actually giving yourself support. What do you need to carry and what don't you? Where do you need to put your energy or not? And then you can start to let that go. And when we do that, we become more aware and the noise in your mind starts to quiet because you're no longer abandoning yourself. You're actually leading in a way where you have inner leadership. You can gauge this is real, this is not. Or no one's saying it's going to be perfect, but the fact that you can ask your question, I know I have times with myself that I will be like, why am I feeling like this? Instead of just jumping into, I feel like this, or I'm so fired up. If I'm going to be honest, yesterday was a tough day. There was a lot of stuff going on yesterday. And I had to really lean into this place a lot more than I would on a regular basis. And I think that that's called life. We will be challenged at times, but we have to have these really good hygiene. That's all I kept hearing. These steps where we're always doing it. So when we get those times where it might be a little bit tougher, we'll be able to work through those inner thoughts in order to get to the next stage. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to get a drink of water. If anyone has anything that they want to share, the queue is open. You're most welcome to come up. I would love to hear from you. Oh, love it. Thanks, guys. I'm just getting my water here. I've been talking for a little bit. I'm still shaking a bit of a cold, so we'll hear what we have to say. So I've got Sarah and then I've got Steven. Perfect. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's going. This is I think it's a real topic for me. So many inner thoughts always. And, love verbally processing, but it's not always something you can do. So sometimes you're just stuck with thoughts. So then you're stuck and then you're like, okay, I'm going to try to manage this because I can't sabotage. This is definitely something I struggle with.
Do you engage with the thought? Do you know how to do that yet? Because when you start engaging with the thought, right? Whatever the thought is, to be able to sit down with that one and be curious and just honestly, Sarah, it's this easy. Like, this is the way I do it. Is it real? Is it not? Is this a story I'm telling myself? Do I have proof to support what I'm linking here?
It's just so scary when you do have the proof to support it. It's one thing if it's like, oh, well, this isn't practical and that doesn't make sense. There's no fact. You go and you check the facts and it doesn't make sense, and that's fine. It's just when you check the facts and it does make sense.
But that doesn't mean that you stop there, right? So again, it brings you back to, if it makes sense, it syncs up to whatever it is. then you have a choice, right? We drop into choice and it's like, well, what do we want to do with it? Are we okay with this pattern? Are we okay with this part of our life? Or do we want to make a change?
So we decide that we want to make a change, right? We're not okay with it. We're like, all right, great. So let's make a change.
And then you would go deeper as let's make a change. And then you would go, well, what can I do? So what you can see what's happening is you're almost mind mapping, right? They're kind of, I got you thought. Is it true? Is it not? And then you go, oh, it's true. Cool. It's true. Do I not? I don't like it. Okay. Now, what are the things I can do to change this? And it doesn't have to be like, so it's not going to be one and done, but that exercise in itself is so much work because all of a sudden you are catching the thought that might have been living in your mind, let's say, I don't know, for 10 years. And all of a sudden you're like, no, we're going to debunk it. We're not just going to.
So you move into debunk it because like, I'm with you and I hear you. I'm through these steps, right? I'm actually in this debunking phase of, all right, so how do we debunk, right? Even so much that I will enlist the help of AI and lay it all out there and it'll list a path forward. So you start working on the path and then the path isn't working. For example, I'm running in circles with therapists, several therapists that I've moved through for the past 3 years. And I probably had 7 or 8. And it's just moving through and we get to this point where we can't work.
Is it the same pattern that keeps
It is
happening?
the same thing. Yeah.
So that's interesting. And can we honor the fact that do you feel as though you are putting a block or is it them?
I'm sure it's probably me, but I don't understand beyond it how to get beyond it. I'm really seeking out the professional help because I don't have that special skill to figure it out. And that's why I'm like seeking professional help. But when you keep cycling through, it's not working. Honestly, it's causing more stress.
Well, I would say this, Sarah, you can come up quickly. Stephen, just hold tight. I just want to finish this thought. I hope you're okay with that. What I will say, one, just give yourself some grace here. We don't want to be stressed out as we're trying to solve. If I were to look at this, just your particular situation, and I know everyone has different things, but I would be looking at you. I'd be like, Sarah, we've had 4 or 5 different people. We're not gelling with them. What's going on there? And the thing is, this answer. Now, it's kind of, I'm feeling like, do you feel safe? Do you feel seen? Or do you feel as though you're just going through autopilot again?
Right. I feel like there's layers here, right? So in the beginning, it was me being safe enough to trust them.
Right.
And then I got to a point, I was like, if I don't just trust them and lay it all out there, then I'm not going to be able to get anywhere. So then I go and I lay it all out there, but they're not equipped to handle it. And then, so I'm like, all right, so let me dig deeper. I need a specialist. So
Right.
then we dig in, and now we've got our specialist. And our specialist is very specific and they only focus on their thing. And so you're like, oh, well, maybe I need more than one. Or maybe I'm looking at it and I'm getting the wrong type of help, right? Like when it comes to mental health, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, of course there is.
And there's a therapist and a psychiatrist, and then there's other supports as well. And I just,
but it feels like, honestly, when you're talking about it, it feels even overwhelming to me. And I'm not in it.
yeah,
So
I'm like, I get so stuck.
it's okay because you won't be stuck forever. I know you're in it and I can feel the overwhelm in it, but the fact that you're even having this conversation is actually a very good thing. So maybe it's too much, right? Maybe we're looking at it too much. Can you pick one particular area that you can focus in on?
Well, the area I chose is not the right area, and my therapist told me it wasn't the right area. So I was choosing to focus on not being homeless and like setting myself up for that. And
Yeah.
she's like, that's not what I do. That's not my thing. She's a ADHD specialist. She
Right.
focuses on impulse control. Well, I also am working with this weight clinic because I'm so overweight that my body's on the verge of a heart attack. It's really scary being sick and can't breathe, and I'm like, gaining. So
I think you have to break it into bite-sized pieces because it sounds like you have a lot. You're looking at all of it and you're like, and I've got this, and you do. But saying, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? We can't tackle all of it because it's going to feel overwhelming. So if I were to say to you, if you were working with me, if you were my client, I would be like, we got a lot here. So what are your top 3 priorities? Which ones would be your top 3 that you got to work on? What's your number 1?
the biggest thing for me, because I'm no longer in burnout mode, but I feel like at any moment I could burn out. But I can't, I'm not nomad. I can't do it. I need the home.
Everybody does. I
I
can't. Well,
can't do it.
some people can. I can't. I need a home too.
And that's a big thing. I can manage more things and consistency, but I can't make my income appear. It just doesn't work that way. I'm at 35K. I need to grow up to 50K. And still part of that is expenses. It doesn't happen. It's not something like I'm doing what I can on that end.
Right.
I don't know. And that's what's making me sick and stuck because I don't know.
I think, Sarah, you can come back up if you want. I think that I honestly think we need to break it into bite-sized pieces. So if home is number 1, you need a place to land. It doesn't need to be anything extravagant, but you need to feel safe so you can get clarity as you move forward. So I would definitely recommend that there's community services around. At least we have it in Canada. I don't know if from a US perspective, if anyone has any sort of support or they can share. I just don't know from a US perspective, but there is usually community services around where you can get additional support while you're going through this. But I totally agree that if I were in your position, I need home base. That is essential in order for me to get grounded. Then the other pieces start to fall into place. Okay, Sarah?
I agree. And I decided some time ago to prioritize home base. There are a variety of things, but they're more like there's lists of
Yeah.
reasons.
That's okay. We all have our list. Yes, but number 1, you need to be clear on where you're going, what you need.
Depends on who you are and where you're at. I've looked at the shelter setting. I'm a trauma survivor, and there are too many things that I've experienced, and I'm not a candidate for the homeless shelter. I've checked it out. I'd rather sleep in my car. So that's not the option. There's a lot of other services as well. Just in case other people don't know, they can call 211 and that'll direct them. That's through United Way, and that'll direct them to services. A lot of the services are community based. If you are homeless, like you literally need to be sleeping in the street, and they will come and find you in the street. And only if you do that, you can't couch surf. And then there's other services as well, but they're based on county. And when you hop around so much, it's really difficult to say, oh, I live in this county. It's like wherever your last address was. And then you can't go off of a P.O. box address, which is what I pay for. I pay for a P.O. box. I don't like my mail going to a million different places because I end up moving every 3-4 months because I haven't found a safe space. I don't think like that is not the answer. The answer is going to be somewhere between me learning how to regulate while I'm homeless. That's the only option because I've sought out everything else. I've dug in, I've called, I will stay on hold, I'll do whatever I need to do. I've done it lots of times and there's nothing. I can't even find a case manager I don't know, but I know right now I'm trying to manage my thoughts
Yes,
so I
of
don't.
course, of course. And the reason why I say this, a tool to manage our thoughts is we need to not carry all of them, right? But you're saying that some of these thoughts, and it's interesting. I'm wondering if we should challenge them a little bit more, but some of these thoughts are true. They're true. And that's why it feels so heavy. But there could be, maybe we haven't seen it yet, and that's why it feels so heavy, because you don't see a way out. But there's always a way out. It just might not be the most conventional way. You might have to think out of the box a little bit. But I would ask yourself, how are you speaking to yourself? And are you always in fear, or do you actually see that there could be another option?
That's super valid. I feel like I go through these phases where I'm being very kind to myself, giving myself lots of grace. And then something will happen. I'll gain 30 pounds. And then all of my health issues flare up. And then I'm just feel really defeated. And even if I try to be nice, I'm upset. And I'm like, honestly, it is fear. I'm scared I'm going to die. And I don't want to die.
Well, of course not. Right. But I think that if anybody was operating from this place, and you're in this space, but there's other individuals that are scared of dying for different reasons. When we are operating in that place, that's very fear based, right? It's not
Right.
seeing that. And there is another way, Sarah. I think you're scared right now and you've got a lot going on. I would simplify your thoughts as much as possible. Very simple. Because I feel like you got a lot rattling around.
It's hard to simplify your thoughts on your own when you're like a
Of
verbal
course.
processor.
Well, that's why
But
you
I'll
can
do
talk
this.
with me. So there's always space here. And this is the beauty of Noon Vibe, right? It's this beautiful community. And you have exceptional coaches that are here for different reasons. And they're always here as a resource, right? We're just to help support. Sometimes I want to clarify, I'm not a therapist, but I coach a lot of people, and then I'm an author, speaker. I do all this other stuff, but I have strategies all the time in how we can break down things so we can simplify and feel empowered in our life. I don't want anybody to feel as though they're stuck, because it is the worst feeling that you can have. Because when we feel stuck, it's like quicksand. We're trying to get out of it. And then we just fall deeper and deeper in, because especially if we're operating from fear, because fear has this, just pulls you in and you can't see that there's always other options. I want you to think about that today, about what we're adding value to, what are the things, what thoughts are you focusing in on? So if you're focusing in, Sarah, if you're focusing in on thoughts like, I'm scared, I don't want to be here. No, I want to be here, but I don't want to die. That's scary stuff. Like, that is heavy stuff. So maybe we can see a different thought pattern that we can apply to just allow us to have a little more breathing room. I'm not asking you to jump hoops, but just to know that when we're in the quicksand, there is people out there like myself and others who can throw a rope out, and you just hold the rope and take baby steps. They say with the quicksand, again, if you struggle, you're going down. But if we take small little baby steps, we can slowly get ourselves out of it. So I would say simplify to the point where you can see the baby steps, literally small little steps. And if you get up tomorrow and you do one little thing that is putting you more towards the direction, then you're winning. Then the next day, maybe it's two, but we build off of it. I just want you to think about that. And thank you so much, Sarah, for coming up and sharing. And remember, you're not alone. I'm here, and I know many others are here, and they're always supporting. So I'm going to bring Stephen up, and let's see what Stephen has to say. Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
That's good.
It can always get better, Sarah.
Totally.
I know this kind of took me back to November of 2016 when everything just shifted, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know anything. And eventually found a therapist and started checking in, and just having somebody listen to me and understand my point of view is game changing because my sounding board was warped and I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So the inner thoughts, I listened to another guy and he'll say, you have 60 to 80,000 thoughts roll through your head every day, and some of them are really negative. And he says, I'll keep a 3x5 card with me, and I'll write them down sometimes. Then I'll hold them out at arm's length and just ask myself, are these true? What can I do about them?
It makes a big difference. It really does. When you see how empowered you are in that moment.
It does. And this class I took back in 2018, he gave us a 6-step process because we were dealing with our inner critics or our
Geez.
inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And so the example is going to be from if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you almost wreck. And it's like, well, first off, you have to name the person. And so for me, buddy, hey, buddy, you're talking to a kid. I get it. I know you're scared. That's the second one, affirmation. I understand how really scary that was. Assurance. It will be okay. I am here with you.
So powerful.
Reassurance. There's hope for us.
Yes.
I will be better in the future. I will be more careful. Number 6, I love you. And he challenged us with all the negative thoughts, all the stuff that ran us sideways. In the coming week, he challenged us to go through that 6-step thing.
So great.
Oh man, so much of my situation had nothing to freaking do with me. Absolutely nothing. But in the moment, I couldn't see it. You're sitting in the center of the tornado and all you see is crap whirling around you. You can't see anything.
It's, well, and this is when your best growth happens, is when you are really raw and when you're stuck. And then when you figure out how to get yourself out, no one will ever take that away, but there's always a way out. And I think that when you were doing the exercises, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm carrying stuff that's not my stuff.
Yeah. That class in 2018, we set a lot of stuff down. I got a very good view of who I was by the way other people saw me. And I'm like, I had to completely take the way my ex saw me and just throw it away because it was so skewed, so very skewed. And they talk about hope, and it's like, nobody steals your hope. You give it away.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Some people will challenge that. And I heard one of the best ones within the last couple of years here. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel, it's a mirror. It's your light shining back at you.
It's eye-opening. Definitely. And then I think about the beauty of doing the work, because then you're not carrying thoughts that are not yours. Imagine, Stephen, if you didn't do all your stuff, you could still be thinking that a lot of the stuff was on you because you didn't challenge the thoughts. You didn't go deeper to look at it on a deeper scale. And when we do that, we start to see truth. And truth will always, to me, truth is the rope that gets thrown out and helps you move to the other side. That's why the idea of being able to challenge your thoughts is extremely powerful. Now, I'm going to just go back to Sarah's thing before I close. This is the beauty of community, Sarah. It's such a good idea because I did this as well when I first moved to Toronto, that there is having roommates. And Sandy wrote a message in the back chat. This is what I mean. Co-hosting and shared space. You could put something out there on Facebook, maybe say that you're looking for a room. That's what I did. and I met great people, but it made living in the city, this is a while ago, very doable. So that could be an option, that maybe you just rent a room and be happy with that space. That would be a form of having space for your own space. So thank you for the share on multiple ends. I think it's been a really powerful conversation tonight. And I want you to know, when we are closing out, you are not your thoughts. You're so much more than your thoughts. I would like you to think of it this way. I question my thoughts with compassion. I ground myself before I start believing that they're true. And I choose truth over fear all the time. And this could apply in many parts of our life. But I just want to leave you with that. If you like what I had to say, give a follow, and I will be back tomorrow. All right. Have a great night, and I will talk to you then. Bye. Take care.